Welcome to this holy place. Come in from the cold, be warmed by grace. In your eyes, the Savior's face. Welcome to this holy place. Around, you're not alone. A child of God, you belong. Breathe it in, love's embrace. Take comfort here in this holy place. This holy place, angels follow you. This holy place, where the Spirit still moves through, still moves through. This holy place where angels follow you. This holy place where the Spirit still moves through, still moves through. Welcome to this holy place. From the cold, be warmed by grace. In your eyes, the Savior's face. Welcome to this holy place. Welcome to this holy place.
Welcome to Home Begins Here. I'm Claudia Coffey, your host and a local television personality. I am honored to be here today to support this brand new event benefiting St. Vincent de Paul. When you logged on, you had a chance to see the many examples of how the community is coming together to serve St. Vincent de Paul. The music was written and performed by Little Band. The singer and guitarist is Danny Flanagan, who works right here at St. Vincent de Paul. The song is about Ozana Men, the men's emergency overnight shelter, and Open Hand Kitchen. By being here today, you are supporting the vital mission of St. Vincent de Paul. Because of you, we were able to serve 8,500 meals every month at the Open Hand Kitchen. More than 50 at-risk children received safe and quality programming at our Family Success Center. Ozana Men, the men's emergency overnight shelter, was open every night, serving 88 men, 20 of them veterans, and more than 400 families every month received support from our food pantry. Many more individuals and families were served through housing, counseling, and support. It is success stories like these that are possible because of you and your support. So thank you. Right now, we'd like to turn it over to board member Donna Russo and Ed Norowski, Executive Director.
Hi, I'm Donna Russo. I'm a new board member here at St. Vincent de Paul in Louisville. I'm so excited to be asked to speak to you today about my own journey with St. Vincent de Paul and what the organization has meant to me. I grew up in a very small town in Leonardtown, Maryland, and my parish was the oldest Catholic church in the original 13 colonies, and the second oldest Catholic church in the United States of America. So I really grew up with just a really rich Catholic Christian faith, a very rural pastoral area. And in the back of our church, there was an offertory box and a statue of St. Vincent de Paul. And that was my first introduction to the saint. And I really didn't know very much about the work at all. I was just a little girl, 5, 6, and 7 years old. And I was one of 6 children. And my mom and dad were both very strong practicing Catholics and Christians and did a lot of good work in the community. And my mom would give us pennies and nickels to put in the box at the end of Mass. So we would walk out and we would put in our pennies and nickels, and it just felt so good because my mom would tell us that that really made a difference for other kids in the area. Again, I didn't know very much about the saint, but as I grew up, I began to read about him. And when I became a teenager, we had a CYO organization, a Catholic Youth Club, and we raised money for St. Vincent de Paul Society. And we also cleaned homes. We did service. So we kind of did a full array of things for people in our very small farming community. Well, obviously I grew up and I went on, and I've really lived many different places in the United States, but always had a fondness for St. Vincent de Paul. Just that early planning of giving, that was my first really charitable notion that was planted in my head. Well, I moved to Louisville about 25 years ago, and I don't believe in coincidences. I didn't come here because of this, but the nuns who taught me in Maryland are from Bardstown, Kentucky, from the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. So there was that connection. And then I worked as an administrator at Family and Children's Place, a nonprofit here in town. And one of the programs we have was the Homeless Families Prevention Program. And it was run by one of my colleagues at the time, Jennifer Clark, who now is your director of program here at St. Vincent de Paul. So I learned a lot about St. Vincent de Paul because of this early curiosity I had. And I was just amazed at how much the St. Vincent de Paul here in Louisville did compared to other organizations that I knew in other parts of the country. There is a full wraparound service. When you come to St. Vincent de Paul here, you come oftentimes hopeless, no clothes, no shoes, with small kids. And it is really sometimes your first place of hope. You're greeted warmly, you're given a warm meal, you get clothes, you get some things for your kids. None of us have probably really been in that situation. So you can only imagine if you're going along and all of a sudden the rug is pulled out from under you. And oftentimes that's what's happened, or our children have grown up with so much trauma that they haven't really felt the warmth of a home. But when they come to St. Vincent de Paul, the staff does amazing things to make sure that they get what we call wraparound programming. In other words, you get everything from that warm meal to shoes to clothes to mental health services to vouchers to housing. So you really get the full range of experience, and that's why I think the tagline "Home Begins Here" is really true. It is sometimes for many of clients, it is their first experience of having that warmth wrapped around them. So I really feel that my giving back, when I retired from Family and Children, I looked to segue to an organization that I really believed in. And hey, here I joined St. Vincent de Paul. And since I've been here, I really realized how well led this organization here, that their program is current. It fills many gaps in the community. It really embraces women, children, youth, adults, men. There is a very inclusive programming here. And in this day and time, a lot of us I know feel sort of helpless. We want to do something, we don't know where to start. I am so glad that I found this to be my home upon retirement, to found this to be the charity that I can come full circle back to and say, boy, those seeds that were planted in me early on are really living out and being practiced in community, especially here in Louisville. So again, I can't say enough good things things, and especially especially excited about the new project that is transitional housing to rapid rehousing for stabilizing families for those impacted by intimate partner violence and domestic violence. You know, I can't tell you how many clients over the years, as a social worker myself for 40 years, that have been impacted by that, and it is heartbreaking. And they can borrow hope. Often I use that expression a lot. People come without hope, but here at St. Vincent de Paul, they borrow hope, and then they really get their own hope, sometimes for the first time. And this program that's being started will really allow families to receive housing, mental health care, to have them together with their children, and to be in a really safe, structured environment that is so, so important. And I know later you will hear more about the programming. So I would like to thank all of you, and especially the members of the St. Vincent de Paul Louisville Board of Directors, and thank you for helping us throughout the year to achieve the mission of St. Vincent de Paul Louisville. We exist only through your generation, your generous time that you give, your treasure, your talents, thousands of hours of time, thousands of dollars worth of in-kind donations, and indeed financial support given every year from the heart of our programs, from feeding the hungry, clothing the needy, sheltering the homeless, healing those who suffer from mental illness and substance abuse, addiction, and mentoring at-risk youth. It happens every day, and the mission really comes alive because of you and your commitment to St. Vincent de Paul and the values we together represent. I really hope, please enjoy the program today. Thank you.
My name is Ed Norowski. I am the Executive Director of St. Vincent de Paul, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural Home Begins Here event. This is a virtual event, our really first big stab at it, and we're so glad to have you participating this evening. The name, Home Begins Here, really is at the root of everything that St. Vincent de Paul does. As you are probably aware, we serve a broad cross-section of those in need. We serve men, women, children, families. We also serve those that are suffering from addiction and mental health issues as well. The first steps towards their moving to a higher level of independence is really having a home that they can call their own. And everybody deserves to have a place to sleep that's clean and safe and a place to call home. So thus the name Home Begins Here. 2020 presented challenges like no other year in the past. I'm sure everybody would be in agreement with respect to the coronavirus. It's impacted virtually every aspect of our lives. Well, life on the St. Vincent de Paul campus isn't any different. The upside of it is that we were able to get ahead of it to a certain extent. We quickly implemented protocols that encourage social distancing, the wearing of masks, using of hand sanitizer and disinfectants. And because of the staff's dedication to really very aggressively maintaining those protocols, we've had an incredible result. Since March 1st, we've served over 600 clients. Of those 600 clients, only 4 have tested positive with the coronavirus. And I've got to believe that it's directly attributable to the fact that we've really been very, very aggressive in maintaining the protocols. And I'm thankful for that. I've got to be frank that early on, my big fear is the kind of experiences that occurred in nursing homes could have occurred in our congregate facilities as well, specifically the men's shelter, the drug rehab facilities. I felt like those were most at risk. Fortunately, we've had a great experience. I'm praying and hoping that we continue those protocols and that we continue to have the kind of success we've had with a very, very low infection rate. 2020 had multiple accomplishments besides just addressing the coronavirus. In 2020, we started a new program. We call it Waypoint House. It's a program that is providing services to homeless youth between the ages of 18 and 24. So far, since January 1, when we started the program, we've served 37 individuals in Waypoint House. We've provided them transitional housing. And of those 37, 32 have already moved on to rapid rehousing in their own apartment, and moving towards a higher level of self-sufficiency. So new ground for us in dealing with this very specific youth age group, and we're having some really strong initial success, even with the implications of the COVID outbreak. 2021 is bringing new opportunities for us. We received a HUD grant to address family homelessness, and as you may be aware, family homelessness is the single largest unmet need in our community. On any given night, 40 plus families go unhoused. That's 40 families that are living in some place that's not meant for human habitation, often their car. We're initiating this program. It's going to be a combination of transitional crisis housing and rapid rehousing. So families will be coming to us from their crisis point and spending 60 to 90 days with us and moving on to permanent housing from there, with full support of case management and other services that they'll need to become independent and successfully move on from their abusive situation. In addition, addressing family needs in 2021, we'll be focusing on academic success for the kids that are involved in our programs. We know that they're really suffering and falling behind during this non-traditional instruction period. They just don't have the resources to be able to consistently have success in this remote learning environment. So coming into 2021, it's going to be really critical that we have the resources to address that need and fully support them as they get back on track and have success in school. And last but not least, and perhaps all-encompassing for 2021, we are going to be looking at inequity in all of its forms and what role we have to play in addressing those to make sure that all people have an equal opportunity to succeed and benefit from the American dream. I thank you for participating in our virtual event today. Home Begins Here is really a phrase that captures everything that St. Vincent Paul is all about. I invite you to participate in the online auctions that are taking place right now, and importantly, I also invite you to participate in the Weller raffle tickets. If you ever wanted to acquire 5 of the hard-to-acquire Weller bourbons, now is your opportunity. Thank you again for participating. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed and Donna. Volunteers are an important component of St. Vincent de Paul's success. Director of Volunteers and Conferences, Donna Young, shares with us now how important volunteers are and some upcoming opportunities.
Good morning. I hope I'm finding everyone well. 2020 has been a very crazy year, and it has been no different here on the campus of St. Vincent de Paul. I miss seeing all the wonderful volunteers that come and help us out in the open hand kitchen, the clothes closet, the food pantry, and with our everyday activities that we have here on campus. I am encouraged, though, by all the wonderful phone calls I've been receiving from you all, wanting to know when you will be able to start your regular volunteering again. I wish I knew the answer. As soon as we think we reach a point when we can reopen again, the virus surges and we're right back where we started. The Santa Shop that we host annually will have a different look this year. Due to everyone's safety and being able to keep everyone at a safe distance, we cannot hold the traditional Santa Shop where the parents come in to shop for their children. This year, we are going to have a drive-by event where each family will receive toys for their children and gift cards where they can go and purchase items for the children. My heart aches that we cannot do it the normal way this year, but I am praying that we will return to normal next year. The Thanksgiving and Christmas meals also are going to be changed. We usually host our annual event where we invite all of our guests to come in with our St. Vincent de Paul family, where we all gather and celebrate the holidays. This year, however, keeping them safe, we will be handing out the meals through the kitchen door. This is really different, and I know it is not the traditional meal, but we will still be providing all of our guests with Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving dinner. I do ask if you're able to help this year to please donate a turkey or a ham to the Open Ham Kitchen to help them with the meal. I also ask if you're able, if you could purchase a gift card to help with the Santa shop. Only one from each person can really help us meet our goal, as I know we will have many families that need assistance this year. I'm going to close on a happy note and a good note. Our volunteer, Paul Carmody, who most of you know as the general of the Santa shop and also the manager of the clothes closet, was awarded WLKY's most prestigious volunteer award this past weekend, the Bell Award. Paul is so deserving of this award as he puts in many hours of service to St. Vincent de Paul each week. Please stay safe and well. Know that I'm looking forward to seeing you all on campus as soon as we can open everything up. And I do want to thank you for your service to St. Vincent de Paul.
Thank you, Donna. To find out more information about how to help out during the holiday season, just visit our St. Vincent de Paul website at svdplu.org. The idea of Home Begins Here is central to the programming here at St. Vincent de Paul. Jennifer Clark, Director of Programs, and Natalie Harris, Director for the Coalition for the Homeless, tells us how a Housing First programming model helps the community at large.
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm as good as you can be these days, and happy to be part of this event. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you so much for being our special guest today. I know we've worked together a long time, but I'm really excited about our other St. Vincent de Paul friends, family, and staff getting to know you a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So maybe we can start out. Just tell me a little bit about the Coalition for the Homeless and what you all do and how long you've been around and your mission in the community.
Oh, great. So I'm the Executive Director at the Coalition for the Homeless. My name is Natalie Harris. And I have now been here just over 10 years in this role, and a lot has happened in those 10 years. We are the overarching coordinating agency for homeless services here in Louisville, Jefferson County. And that means we really focus on a few systemic type activities. One of those is coordinating funding. And so we work with all of the various agencies that serve the homeless, not just shelter, but all the different services for the homeless to try to figure out what's missing and try to acquire funding for those purposes and make best use of that funding. But we also advocate for systems change, both locally and at state level, to try to make things better for homeless people and the people who serve them. Because our goal is to make sure that the people who do just what St. Vincent de Paul does, which is to serve people one-on-one every single day, can focus on that work. And I think now more than ever, we're seeing how much work that is. We have, at least 30 different agencies that are serving the homeless here in the community. And St. Vincent de Paul is a great example because they do everything. They go all the way from emergency shelter when people first walk off the streets and into a safe place that's warm at night, all the way to permanent housing where they're turning their lives around and starting new jobs and getting their kids off to school and becoming taxpayers. So you go from you do the whole gambit to help people change their lives. And that's so important.
Thank you so much for that. We definitely collaborate with the coalition in a lot of really important ways, and we're thrilled to be a part of the work together as partners. I know we've started quite a few new projects together over the years, and that's one thing that one way that St. Vincent de Paul and the Coalition for the Homeless collaborate together to bring new funding and new resources to the community. I know that we couldn't do it without the work that you all do to coordinate that funding process. That includes our newest TH2 transitional housing. I won't use the acronyms. Transitional housing to rapid rehousing project serving people who are fleeing domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking. And that's been a fun and exciting process. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as an example of how St. Vincent de Paul and the Coalition for the Homeless collaborate together?
Yes, and I think that's important to note is that St. Vincent de Paul has stepped up again and again when the community has called out with a need. This is the most recent one. what we have learned is that there is a lot of domestic violence in our city, and we're learning, especially with COVID, that those numbers are increasing as people are losing jobs and getting stressed out, and then also staying together a lot more in their homes. That need has really increased, and Center for Women and Families is not able to address the whole need. They serve those people who are most likely to die due to a domestic violence situation, but there are many more that they can't. And so when we asked for somebody in the community to be willing to step up to apply for additional HUD funding to address that need, St. Vincent de Paul stepped up and did that. And that's not just the first time. Very recently, we asked the same question about transitional housing for young adults. Until just 2 years ago, the way it worked in Louisville is if you were under 18 years old, you were able to go to a youth shelter. On your 18th birthday, you had to go to an adult shelter. And we really felt like that was an unsafe and not healthy place for people to go if their goal was to turn their lives around and to get jobs and to go back to school and all of those things. And so again, St. Vincent de Paul stepped up, opened that facility, and it is definitely changing people's lives. So thank you again for always stepping up and doing what we need as a community.
Well, collaboration is definitely so important. Not a single one of our organization can solve all of these problems by ourselves. We've been talking with the Center for Women and Families and collaborating with them on our project going forward, and also VOA and a lot of the organizations that are also part of the coalition. And I just think that the Coalition for the Homeless's role is so important in bringing us together as a community, helping to coordinate, helping us to bring these resources together and to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts and that we're working together as well as we can. And I just so appreciate the role that you all play in the community doing that. It's so important.
Yeah,
so that's a little bit about how we all work together. And we've talked a little bit about the issues going forward with young adults and with people who are fleeing domestic violence. What are some of the barriers that you see to people once they get to us and we are able to put them in an apartment? What are some of the barriers that people face that prevent them from being able to sustain their housing and maybe even leads to them becoming homeless in the first place?
So I think many of us, especially when we were younger, starting out, realized that over the last 30 years, it's become more and more difficult to make ends meet until you can get to a higher income level. We still in Louisville have quite a few people because we are an affordable city. So we still have a lot of poor people who live in our city and haven't been pushed out into the edges, who make minimum wage or just over minimum wage. And if you stop to remember what it was like when you made $8 an hour when you first started out, that's $16,600 a year. And if you still, because you weren't able to finish school and you didn't have the opportunities that a lot of people have, or you live in a part of town where there's not adequate transportation and daycare, are still making $8 an hour as an adult, and especially if you're trying to raise children, I can't imagine how with less than $1,000 a month after taxes, you're going to be able to pay your rent, pay your utilities, and do all that. So while incomes have remained stagnant, not just here in Louisville, but across the country, housing has continued to increase in cost. And our local needs assessment shows that we need 32,000 new units that are affordable to people who make that little income. And so until we can fill in that housing gap, we really need to help families be able to afford what housing there is. And right now, only about 25% of those people can be assisted. There are lots of other complicating factors. We've definitely had a drug issue in our state, probably hit more than other states. There are people who are fleeing domestic violence or have other family traumas. And also people who have mental illness or other illness, physical illness in their family. If you make enough money, you're able to still sustain and live happily and go to work even with those disabilities, but that's a lot harder when you're just making it month to month. And so a lot of those families really struggle when one thing happens in their life, like a car breakdown or a kid that has to go to the hospital. And so we see a lot of short-term homelessness, but even then when people get stabilized again, they are really susceptible to falling into homelessness again because they don't have the savings and the family support that they would need without that savings.
Absolutely. We know addiction and mental health affects across income levels, every type of household, everybody. I think anybody that you talk to has had an experience within their family or friends or themselves related to mental health or substance use. But I really watch our families and the people that we work with struggle with just trying to keep one foot in front of the other sometimes. And a lot of it comes down to not having that safety net and having to make choices between like medication and rent or transportation and food. And so a lot of people don't think about St. Vincent de Paul and housing. You know, they think about our emergency shelter, they think about our open hand kitchen, but the reality is we have over 300 units of housing, and affordable housing is really what's going to end homelessness for people so that they don't have to make those choices and they don't have to struggle so much to maintain stability in their lives. So thank you for addressing all of that. I think it's really
and
important.
I think one of the exciting things about St. Vincent de Paul is how much it has transitioned as well over the last 10 years to really, instead of just being a program, to really being a community. And there's so much on that campus now. I really think of it as a campus. It's not a homeless shelter. It's housing. It's a food bank. It's a place for people to get together and play basketball. People really have formed a community there. Which I think is much more uplifting, and it does give people that opportunity to feel like this is normal and this is what I can do next. A lot of people talk about, are people too comfortable here in this setting? But I know in my own life, the more comfortable I am, the more I can give back to my community, the better I do at work, the better I do with my family. And so I really thank St. Vincent de Paul for having that kind of comfortable community setting that makes people feel welcome and makes them think about what they could do in the future for other people.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. It's really been great to be a part of the work here. And that's one thing that I remind new case managers when they start that, hey, you're coming to work
Oh, no.
to speak to people in the morning, say hello, it's important because you are coming to a place where people live every day and their kids, basically go to school here now since we don't have school. And now we're doing the non-traditional instruction at the Family Success Center. And it's also so gratifying to see the social support that comes together here and the way people can really use all of that to become more stable. And I do think it helps them to move on ultimately and be able to go somewhere in the community where maybe they don't need case management. We've worked really hard on sending people to move up and that being one of our outcomes. I can't wait to report out on that at the end of the year to our board and our funders about how many people we've sent through partnership with the Louisville Metro Housing Authority to a Section 8 voucher with, no case management attached to it, which is ultimately less expensive, more mainstream, a little bit more self-sufficient. And I think that St. Vincent de Paul and what we're able to offer in terms of resources and social support is part of what makes that happen. But also the Coalition for the Homeless, the move-up application process is also something that you all coordinate that is really important to the community and helps us to maximize our resources on the ground. So,
yeah, I think when we all put our heads together, we're a lot more strategic about, okay, here is this barrier and we can't get past it and we need more resources. How can we make more resources out of what we have? And that was really a community effort to getting a new partner. So LMHA being one of those partners has been fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the outcome of great collaboration as a community and having an awesome coordinating body in the hands of the Coalition for the Homeless. Yeah, Move Up has been such a fantastic process for us as a community. It's such a great collaboration. It's been so wonderful for our clients to be able to move on to a place where they're more self-sufficient in the community and move on to a different place. So, I think that a lot of the people that we send through Move Up, if you met them in the grocery store or, saw them outside of some of the beautiful new apartments that Louisville Metro Housing Authority has now, you wouldn't think about where they've come from and what they were like, what their lives were like when they first came to St. Vincent de Paul after having whatever crisis they had that led them to needing our services. What are some misconceptions you think of that a lot of people have around how people become homeless, what quote unquote homeless people are like? What are some of those misconceptions?
Yeah, I think you hit on the biggest one, which is we all seem to think that people we don't know are somehow different from us. And there have been several examples where I've gotten my husband to come in as a volunteer on some event. We do a big stand down event every year, and he will come volunteer our street count. And he'll have a conversation with the person who's homeless, and they'll talk about their favorite music or the fact that this person plays an instrument, which my husband also does. And he's always excited about those conversations and about how we aren't that different. Just some of us have a lot more opportunity than other people. And I think a lot of people take that to the extreme and also even think that people who are on the streets are dangerous, when unfortunately, people living on the streets are actually much more likely to be hurt than people who that they will come in contact with. There's a lot of people who think that you end up as a homeless person or as a poor person because you did something wrong. But unfortunately, and I think our country is coming to grips with this, we have a lot of systemic issues that ensure that some people are winners and some people are not. A lot of that is tied up into racism and sexism in our country. And when you look at who becomes homeless across the country, there are a lot of children with single mothers who don't have the same kind of opportunity. There are a lot of minority people of color who end up with a lot less opportunity. And not only do they have less opportunity, but they come from families and communities that also have less opportunity. So there isn't somebody you can go to help you out when you're in need because they're also in need. I think one of the things that I try to encourage people to do is to reach out, go to neighborhoods you've never been to before, meet people that are different from you. And I think what we find is we're really not all that different when we start talking to each other.
Absolutely. So I think that's what's so exciting about the work. It really is transformational. One of my nerdy topics that I love is like the history of homelessness. And I know that we don't have time to get into it right now, but it is really interesting just how the statistics and the face of homelessness and what people think about it and how it's changed over the years from, when you think about back to the 80s and the stereotype of, the guy pushing the grocery cart and kind of talking to himself, and what the reality is and how it's changed over the years with as our society has changed and how it affects people differently. And so many things tie in with homelessness, education and employment and mental health and substance use and the things that, get people into crisis so often where they end up not having a home at the end of it. It's all a really interesting journey for both as a society largely and for individual people. And I'm so privileged to be a part of it. I think that the work that we do is really transformational, and I'm excited to bring all of this information to our friends and family and staff at St. Vincent de Paul today. And I think that at the end of this, I'm hoping a lot of people are going to ask, well, what can I do to help? So Natalie, what would you say to that as far as like what people can do to help us in our work?
So I would be remiss if I didn't start by saying that the thing people can most do to help is to partner with one of the nonprofit agencies that is already here and knows who the homeless people are that are in need and how to serve them. Definitely, I cannot think of a time when our homeless agencies, including St. Vincent de Paul, have more needed your funds. There are donors who aren't able to give now because of COVID, who've lost their jobs. And so we need new donors who are willing to support this important work that St. Vincent de Paul is doing. In any ways that you can volunteer as well. When COVID first started, a lot of the agencies had to send volunteers home. They're slowly learning how to bring them back to do different activities. And so finding out ways that you can support making deliveries or doing some other things that wouldn't mean that you'd have to be that close to other people, which are some of the activities that people have done in the past. Again, I think it's really, really important for people to educate themselves. A lot of us don't know why we have this problem of homelessness because they have not been paying attention to what's happening in our community and across this country. And so I think it's really important to know where your sources are coming from and look at sources you can trust to read about income disparity in our country, and be able to stand up when people say things that aren't true and say, no, I have educated myself about that. And it isn't people's individual, they are not the cause of their poverty. We have set up those systems, and then work toward voting for people and for outcomes that are going to make sure that that we can change and be a better world and take care of people around us. And and then just do that. You don't have to go to St. Vincent de Paul to take care of somebody who's in need. COVID has made us all have neighbors who need somebody to go pick up toilet paper for them or pick up a prescription or just check on them. There's so many ways that we can be better neighbors every day in our city.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I hope that everybody goes to our website and goes to your website, because I do think the Coalition for the Homeless is one of those credible sources of news and information. They could sign up for your new. And then, of course, we have plenty of opportunities to volunteer and to donate to St. Vincent de Paul's mission. You can also learn on the Coalition's website about all the different partners that they have and the great work that those folks are doing as well. Because we all support each other at the end of the day. So thank you so much, Natalie, for being here today, for having this conversation.
Thank you. I just want to end by saying thank you to St. Vincent de Paul for literally saving lives and changing lives. Your work is amazing, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Natalie. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
What an amazing and informative conversation about people living in poverty right here in the Louisville community. I think it's important also to talk about how individuals can step up and help out. Now we're going to turn it over to Councilwoman Barbara Sexton Smith.
Well, hello, Louisville. I'm Metro Councilwoman Barbara Sexton Smith, and I represent Louisville Metro District 4. And I am so humbled and honored to be serving in this capacity where St. Vincent de Paul calls home as well, right there in the heart of the Smoketown and Shelby Park neighborhood. I tell you what, I've known about St. Vincent de Paul for many, many years, and the great work that they do for so many in our community, men, women, and children, and families and individuals. But it wasn't until I was elected to serve as the councilwoman that after I visited St. Vincent de Paul in Smoketown and Shelby Park area, that I realized how many people are served every day, and especially the folks right there in that neighborhood. So the question we must all ask ourselves is, what is my responsibility? What is my interest? And what will I do? And I'm going to answer that by saying, what would you do on the road to Jericho? Because you see, as a councilwoman, the mayor always likes to say, by the time Barbara Sexton Smith goes out of office, she will have renamed every street in Louisville. And you know what? I am, because every street in Louisville really is the road to Jericho. And what I'm talking about, my friends, is that Good Samaritan story. That's right. What are you going to do when you pass somebody on the street that is in need? If they're hungry, are you going to offer them something to eat? If they are unhoused, are you going to offer them a place to stay or help them find one? And if they are naked, are you going to provide clothing? That is the Great Commission, and that is our responsibility. Yes, we have many needs in our community, and sometimes it's overwhelming, but I'm going to tell you what, open up those checkbooks, pull out those credit cards, pull out that cash, whatever way you can, and you'll be glad you did. Give to St. Vincent de Paul. It would make all the difference in the world. That's right, because you see, no one is an island entire to themselves, and each is a part of the main. Do not send to ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. And that's my way of sharing that we are all one soul. That's right, and we're all connected. I want everybody to think for a minute. Imagine a community where everyone feels connected. That's right. And a great connected community is safe, healthy, educated, and free from poverty and free from oppression. So that's where you come in. And that's where St. Vincent de Paul is. They really are doing the work all day, every day, reaching out into our community, into Smoketown and Shelby Park neighborhoods, as well as throughout our community, and helping folks who need that little bit of help, whether it's help for today, help for tomorrow. Sometimes it's help for a lifetime. Every life is worth it. Jump in here and join me. And together, we really will create a great connected community for all.
What an inspiring program. I am Rich Flaherty, the Director of Development for St. Vincent de Paul, and I want to thank you for attending and also thank all of our presenters. We also would like to thank Claudia Coffey for being our host and MC, Natalie Harris from the Coalition for the Homeless, and our Councilwoman Barbara Sexton Smith for both their kind words today, but their ongoing support of our mission. Now, you've heard about the wonderful things St. Vincent de Paul does and the successes that we have, but you've also heard that we need your assistance. So here is your opportunity to help. Any donation you can make helps us to make Home Begins Here a reality. But we do get a question all the time. What does my donation go towards, or what do you do with the donation? So I thought I'd give you a couple of examples of how your donation helps our clients. $1,000 helps one person to eat at the Open Handed Kitchen for an entire year. $500 helps a homeless man stay at the Ozanam Inn for 2 months. If you join our Champion Society by setting up an automated monthly payment, a $10 monthly payment helps a child at our Family Success Center to get tutoring for an entire year. And even a $25 donation, a single $25 donation, provides cleaning supplies for one of our families who live on campus for a month. So any donation helps our clients, and we very much appreciate any donation you can give. Now, to make a donation, you can go to our website at www.svdplou.org and click on the Donate Now button and make your donation right there. We very much appreciate all gifts that come to St. Vincent de Paul. I'd like to thank everyone for your continued support of our mission. And here at St. Vincent de Paul, we truly could not do it without you. We are also thankful for the contributions of our partners for this event. Gabrielle Robertson and Kenny Allward with Oxmoor Auto Group. Of course, as I mentioned, Natalie Harris, the Executive Director the Director of Coalition for the Homeless, Metro Councilwoman Barbara Sexton Smith, and of course, Claudia Coffey. We would not have been able to put this together without everyone's help. We also want to thank the never-ending efforts of our Executive Director, Ed Narowski, our Director of Programs, Jennifer Clark, our Director of Volunteers and Conference Affairs, Donnie Young, of course, Danny Flanagan and his music at the beginning that was put to the pictures and videos was very moving. And lastly, we want to thank our board members, highlighted today and represented today by Donna Russo and her wonderful presentation. Again, thank you all for watching this virtual event, and we hope that you and your family are staying safe and healthy during these difficult times. And to close, the staff of St. Vincent de Paul would like to say thank you.
Thank you for your continued support. We really couldn't do it without you.
I would like to send a big thank you to everyone that helps St. Vincent de Paul, especially the Open Hand Kitchen. We appreciate everything that you all do for us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Renee Bailey. I am the Program Manager of Roberts Hall. I would like to take this time to thank all of our donors. Without your support and help, we can never accomplish all the things we do for the homeless community here at St. Vincent de Paul. Once again, I would like to thank you.
St. Vincent de Paul's warehouse in Louisville thanks you. Thank you.
Thank you. Maintenance Department from St. Vincent de Paul, Louisville thanks you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for supporting the pantry.
Really appreciate the food. It will go out quickly.
Appreciate all the support for the food pantry. Sure need it.
Hello, my name is Matt Weaver. I'm the Coordinator of Clinical Services here at St. Vincent de Paul, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to all those who have donated. Thanks to your donations, we're able to continue our good work here at St. Vincent de Paul. Again, thank you so much because your donations make it possible for us to do our hard work. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly White. I'm with the accounting department, and I just want to say thank you for all you do for St. Vincent de Paul.
Hi, this is Jennifer Clark, the Director of Programs at St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you for all of your support. You help people find their way home when you support St. Vincent de Paul. We appreciate you.
I want to thank everyone who helps out at St. Vincent de Paul, all you Vincentians that come in and work and give your time and energy, plus all those who donate, even from the ones that donate $1 to the ones that donate more. We really appreciate everything that you do for us. Without you, there would not be a St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you.
Hey there. We just want to say thank you to all donors that take care of St. Vincent de Paul. The good work of the society goes on each and every week. We're here in the food pantry where we serve about 200 families a week, those that are in, food insecure and need our help. It wouldn't be possible without you. We say thanks a lot. That's why we donate our time as well as our treasure, and we hope you'll do the same. Thanks.
Good morning. Hi, this is Cameron Clark, Assistant Facilities Manager, Safety Director for St. Vincent de Paul, Louisville. Wanted to thank all of you for your generous donations. Without your donations, we could not do any of what we do. Again, we thank you. We love you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.